Hello. All right, it is now 5:33 on Thursday, August 10th, 2023. So I will go ahead and call to order this regular meeting of the Deschutes County Planning Commission. Our first, do we have Commissioner Williams here? Okay, hi. All right, so for the record, we have Commissioner Williams on Zoom. We got Commissioner Kelly. Okay, Commissioner Kelly here, Commissioner Cyrus, and then me, Chair Curis present. So first item on the agenda is approval of minutes for July 13th, 2023. Is there a motion regarding the minutes?
I so move.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from July 13th, 2023. Is there any discussion on the motion before we vote?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Commissioner Cyrus, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and abstain since I was not present at the meeting. So it is you. Can I abstain since there's only 4 people, or do I have to vote?
I think you're okay.
Okay, so I abstain. So it's unanimous, 3-0. The motion passes to approve the minutes from July 13th, 2023. Okay, so now we'll move on to public comment about things not on the agenda. So we got 2 items on the agenda tonight, our public hearing about the transportation system plan and a public hearing about the Tumalo community plan. So just before we proceed with those items, are there any comments about anything else that you'd like to bring to our attention, or anything else that you want, any other concerns you have? Now would be the time to talk about any of those. Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand in person. Is there anyone on Zoom with a comment about something that isn't one of the public hearings tonight? Okay, great. Then in that case, we'll proceed with our first public hearing, the Transportation System Plan Update 2020-2040. So for this, I will go ahead and turn it over to Peter Russell, Senior Transportation Planner, and Tarek Rawlings, Senior Transportation Planner.
Thank you, Chair Curis. I am Peter Russell. This is the time and place set for hearing on file 247-23-000-507 PA 508 TA concerning proposed updates to the Deschutes County's existing 2010-2030 Transportation System Plan, otherwise known as the TSP, reflecting the years 2020 to 2040. So the way the hearing will go, the Planning Commission will hear oral testimony, receive written testimony, and consider the testimony submitted at this hearing. The hearing is also being recorded. The Planning Commission may make a decision on this matter tonight, continue the public hearing to a date certain, or leave the written record open for a specified period of time. The hearing will be conducted in the following order. Staff will give a report on this issue. We will then open the hearing to all present and ask people to present testimony at one of the tables or at the podium. You can also provide the commission with a copy of written testimony. Excuse me. Record materials may be viewed at the project website as shown on the screen here. This is a hybrid hearing. If you are participating in person, please fill out a blue sign-up sheet and submit to staff. You will then be called to the table to provide testimony. The blue sheets are over there on the side of the room. For remote participants, please indicate if you'd like to provide testimony by using the raise hand button in Zoom, or by dialing *9 if you are *9 if you are participating via phone. The chair will then call on participants with hands raised to provide testimony. Questions to and from the chair may be entertained at any time at the chair's discretion. Cross-examination of people testifying will not be allowed. However, if any person wishes to ask a question of another person during that person's testimony, please direct your question to the chair after being recognized. The chair is free to decide whether or not to ask such questions of the person testifying. Prior to the commencement of the hearing, any party may challenge the qualifications of any commissioner for conflict of interest. This challenge must be documented with specific reasons supported by facts. Should any commissioner be challenged, the member may disqualify himself or herself, withdraw from the hearing, or make a statement on the record of their capacity to hear and decide this issue. At this time, do any members of the commission need to set forth any information that may be perceived as a conflict of interest?
And there I can see Tony. Okay. So I think you just asked this, but since it's highlighted on my sheet, I'll say, does any commissioner have anything to disclose? And if so, please state the nature of the same and whether you can proceed. I'm seeing none, so
Okay, so does any party wish to challenge any commissioner based on conflicts of interest?
not seeing any challenges. So as no challenges are presented, the hearing is now open. Staff will proceed with a brief report.
So what we're going to turn over now is Matt Kittleson from Kittleson Associates, who will kind of walk through how we develop the transportation system plan, its priorities, the various modes it covers, and then what we've heard from the June 27th Planning Commission and how we've addressed that. With that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Hi, Commissioners. Matt Kittleson with Kittleson Associates. Happy to be here to talk through the transportation system plan update. What we'll share tonight is very similar to what we shared at the workshop, just to get you up to speed and remind everyone how we developed the plan and the content of it. I'll give it a second. I think we're maybe pulling up that. Perfect. Can you make that larger too? Just hit the present in the bottom right. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. So just diving into a couple of the background documents of what is a TSP. Essentially, a transportation system plan is the transportation element of the county's comprehensive plan. It provides a list of projects that are prioritized over the course of 20 years they could be reasonably funded and implemented. It also, I think this is important, reflects the county's priority to maintain the facilities that exist today, preserve and maintain those facilities, make sure that those operate into the future, and really provides for a long-term system that allows people to move around the county for driving and walking and biking where appropriate. We update the TSP periodically. It provides an opportunity for public input for the county to reassess. Oops, sorry, went too far. And really and account for just what's changed over a period of time, particularly in the last 10 years. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in the county, in the unincorporated areas, around the rural area, around the urban areas, et cetera. There's always a need to just to reassess those projects and make sure that we're aligning and create a document that's helpful in developing the capital improvement program that the county is regularly implementing. There's also a number of statewide initiatives and local plans that are updated that we want to make sure the county is considering and being aligned with. So things like how the county can operate within an event like a Cascadia subduction zone. There's a statewide plan that we can reference and reflect. And then again, just the number of ODOT plans and city plans that have happened that don't necessarily aren't directly in all cases on the county system, but we want to make sure we're understanding the interface with those. And then specific items to the county, like reevaluating the roadway moratorium that exists that we talk about in the plan as well, and confirming the need for that based on the funding projections that exist. There's a distinction within the county, the jurisdictions of what plan matters or governs, I should say. So the county incorporates or addresses the areas outside the urban growth boundaries. So this plan does not cover Sisters, Redmond, Bend, or Lapine. But again, the interfaces of those are important. So there's certainly, if you look as we go through the project list, there's a number of coordinated projects and on the edges of those urban areas. Although we do include, of course, the areas of Tumalo and Terrebonne that are outside of the urban growth boundary. All those other areas have their own local transportation system plan. The plan was shaped over a number of years by various sources. We had technical working group with our team and the county staff that spent a lot of time working through the details of the plan, making sure that we were incorporating all the information from the county and the analysis that we were working on. 2 open houses that occurred at different times, including one just this last winter where we got a lot of feedback that we'll share about the project lists. multiple agency partner coordination meetings with the cities, counties, ODOT, other people affected by that from an agency perspective, and then just broad engagement with partners. There's been formal and informal coordination with those various agencies, and then a specific and robust amount of input from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, BPAC, that provided a lot of great information for the planning effort as well. Through the open house in December, we had 159 people provide input, which was great. We heard from a lot of folks. Really, the takeaway was broad support for a lot of the key projects in there and in what has been recommended. There's a clustering of feedback received around a couple of key things: Sunrise Boulevard, which is a support for that project. The concept of a Deschutes Riverwoods South Interchange, which is included in the plan as something of both support and concern about just the future planning. And that's a good example of the role of the TSP, which is not to develop a refined project, but to identify a broad project that would require further coordination and refinement, in this case with ODOT specifically. So it's a lot to note there on a future project development as that could move forward in the future. Feedback on Sisters to Black Butte Ranch Trail, which was another a coordination project that would be driven largely by the Forest Service. We heard mixed feedback on that from a variety of sources, support and also concerns. And then the Southwest Bend Bike Head Bridge, same thing, lots of comments on that. I think one thing Peter and I wanted to clarify, we misspoke last time that it wasn't included in the TSP. It actually would be included in the the Deschutes County TSP through reference to the BPRD master plan. It's included in the BPRD master plan. The county's TSP would incorporate that by reference. So not directly listed in the TSP, but something that would be included by reference. With that, I'll go through a quick overview of just the TSP itself. I'll do this. We spent a lot more time on this in the work session, so we can come back to things specifically, but I'll try to hit it a little bit quicker just to get to the feedback and opportunity for others to participate tonight. Just a quick overview, couple chapters with introduction, goals and policies, needs assessment and evaluation, how we arrived at what we're planning for. Chapter 4 and 5 talk about the how we would build systems, functional classification, et cetera. And then chapter 5 is the projects list and priorities. And then chapter 6 talks to the funding, and it's where we also discuss kind of that future forecast for funding and what the county expects to do with the resources available over the next 20 years. There are a number of, let me get, sorry, the slides are small. This talks to just the overall costs of the projects and the summary of investments. So there's a summary in the TSP about just the broad number of projects by category: intersection changes, roadway changes, contributions to ODOT projects, pedestrian facilities, bridges, and then contributions to grant projects, particularly FLAP. And that amounts to about $189 million over 20 years, which the county would be able to plan for and implement those projects. All the projects include a high-level planning cost estimate for budgeting purposes and just forward-looking. The final costs, of course, will continue to be refined as projects are implemented. It helps, though, with planning out the capital improvement program that I mentioned. We also will talk a little bit about the Transportation Safety Action Plan, which is included in this as well, another thing that we're moving forward on. But one thing that's particularly important on this is the TSP provides a framework for projects, but the priority can change over time. Something that's a low priority, for example, doesn't necessarily have to wait for all the medium priorities to go first or the high priorities. The county has the ability and regularly will be pragmatic about opportunities that exist if funding becomes available or a need arises quicker through development or just natural changes. So sometimes it's easy to look at the priorities as the end all be all, but they're just a starting place for that discussion over the future, but that can be adjusted as needed based on, again, those pragmatic realities that we find or the synergies that exist through just project development. Intersections projects, there's a number of those that focus on turn lanes, realignments, roundabout projects. There's many of those that have happened recently, are moving forward in the near future. Priority projects along Butler Market, along South Century, O'Neill Highway, Burgess Day, Lower Bridgeway, a number of projects. And again, you can kind of start, if you look at maps like this, you'll see obviously the projects are aligned where you see a lot of traffic. You expected there's more kind of in that central eastern part of the county. Less so when you start getting way out to the rural areas. Obviously, we're not seeing the need for investment quite the same way as those ones that interface near the urban areas. Roadway projects, similar. There's a number of roadway projects included that include new roads, reconstructions, widening and overlay of different roads. Some of those high priority projects is Hunnell Road, which is ongoing now, and then Smith Rock Way up in the Redmond vicinity. There's also included in the TSP, it's the appropriate time to review functional classification changes. So this is the hierarchy of roads within the county. Arterial roads are the larger roads that are intended to carry the broadest range of traffic, collector roads in the middle, and then local roads providing more local access to residences and businesses. So it's a good time through the TSP process to evaluate changes to the functional classification, whether a road is operating with less demand than we would anticipate, or maybe a road is carrying more. There's often reasons for this. So investments, like for example, that the county's made to Huntington Road in the South County area can change the way that the classification exists down there. So there's a number of changes that are recommended within the TSP. These have been included in the public input that we've asked for as well. So there's a cross-referencing map that's included in the TSP of those recommended changes to that system. ODOT, there's a number of ODOT coordination projects, and these are ones where in many cases ODOT's the primary funder of projects, or even the instigator of those projects, but the county may participate through a variety of different ways. Lower Bridgeway interchange obviously is a good example of that in the Terrebonne area, and the ongoing 20 and Cook roundabout in the Tumalo area. So those are good examples of listing those projects that are priority to ODOT that helps in some cases, identify funding for ODOT, or again, creates those synergy opportunities exist, but ODOT would be the primary driver of those projects. And then also planned pedestrian facilities, which are contained within the Terrebonne and Tumalo area, where the county has sidewalks that they maintain, and planned extensions of those in coordination with various projects. So there are other local planning efforts, such as the Tumalo Community Plan, have informed some of those projects, and the work up in Terrebonne has helped those as well. And then moving on to bicycle facilities, the county currently maintains a couple different designations of bike facilities. One is a county bikeway, which is in the existing TSP that's continued into this proposed document as well, where the county, through ongoing maintenance activities, will look for opportunities to widen out shoulders on these facilities. This was developed again through the prior TSP process. So this is something that would remain. And then also noting in the TSP, I don't know, sneezed on it, finding it moves forward, sorry. And scenic bikeways that are ODOT designations, of which there's 3 in the county: Sisters to Smith Rock, Twin Bridges, and then Mackenzie Pass bikeway as well. And then for particularly with BPAC's involvement, BPAC has done a lot of work in their own committee efforts to identify connections that are important within the county, that the county TSP includes in a really specific way. There's a ton of work that BPAC has done thinking through these connections in a document that they've put together that puts a lot of thoughtfulness on possible routes. The county TSP includes these facilities as noted connections that should be made, and that's on purpose for a couple reasons. One, the specific route development hasn't been done yet in the coordination that would be required for these. So Bend to Redmond, for example, obviously Bend to Redmond as a connection is an important opportunity for a bike facility to be provided, but how that's provided is to be determined, whether it happens on the highway alignment, whether it happens on something off highway, on a utility corridor or something else. So the county TSP will list these connections, but is intentionally not specific on the route because there's work to be done there. So we don't want to be ahead of ourselves in the planning process. So a number of these connections are noted with the specific distinction that the route planning has to be done, and the county can participate that as appropriate going forward with these routes. It will be certainly different in each case. So a number of those are proposed from a recreational perspective, from a community connection perspective. So that's an exciting addition to the TSP that provides a lot of opportunities going forward. And then just ongoing projects that are important from a maintenance perspective, maintaining bridges that require maintenance, a number of high priorities noted on here as well. And then again, as I mentioned, the FLAP projects, which is projects that FLAP stands for Federal Land Access Program. It's a federally funded program that provides dollars to the county, to counties or other agencies to improve access to federal lands, of which Deschutes County has a lot. So it's a great funding source for roadway projects and other things that are important for just people getting in and around the county. And then other coordination, broader plans that are incorporated again by reference into the TSP is things like the transit plan. So CET has relatively recently updated their transit plan that the county participated in that process itself. The TSP will adopt that by reference. Increases, certainly there's a lot of opportunity for the transit service to provide for people in the unincorporated communities through dial-a-ride service or on-demand service, and even just the community connector. So a great opportunity for the county to include that plan into this and then also continue that coordination going forward. And I mentioned the Transportation Safety Action Plan. That was a specific planning effort completed a few years ago, focused on where to improve the safety performance of the county roads. That specific plan has already been adopted, but we've included the key priorities in the TSP as a project list item as well. And then there's a whole chapter on funding. I'll hit the highlights here. Of course, as I mentioned before, maintaining the current maintenance and operational standards is important and is a big part of the funding priority going forward. The county recommends the existing roadway moratorium remain in place because of just the needs for ongoing maintenance, and then the capital improvements that are listed in the TSP as well. The recommendation is to maintain that to accomplish those first two things within the existing funding levels. Really, like a lot of jurisdictions, the county faces what is the reality that there's always an ongoing need for partnerships and identifying additional funding sources to increase revenue to deliver these projects that are important for the roadway system. Going forward with the TSP adopted, it provides a great vehicle and avenue to continue that coordination with the local, state, federal agencies that have participated in developing this plan to fund and implement the projects that are important. It's an ongoing process to continue working with those partner agencies, continuing to develop that capital improvement program, the CIP. And then as these projects move forward, the specific outreach that will be needed through the design processes as we get into the details of these documents. But really broadly, the TSP is a policy document, a long range plan that provides guidance on those transportation decisions that we haven't yet considered that will pop up over the next time period as we move forward. So it's a important policy basis for the county as we move forward with developing the transportation system. Next steps in this process is after you all have considered the TSP in this public hearing, assuming recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, the board will hold a work session at a upcoming date, and then of course their own public hearing on the topic, and then they will have the same opportunity as you to present, revise, or deny the TSP. And I think that's what we have. Anything, Peter or Tarek, to add?
The only thing I'd add is that as of today, we've received 3 more public comments, which will be uploaded to the site. One from SLED, which is South County Lapine Economic Development Group, regarding the priority for doing improvements at South Century and Venture Lane here in Sun River. One from the city of Redmond about the 97 Quarry interchange and their concerns about where it is on a priority. And then one from private citizen Randy Winlinks in opposition to multi-use paths on forest and exclusive farm use. So I just want to make sure you are aware of that. And like I said, it'll be uploaded to the website as well. Tara, do you have anything else?
Nothing. Yeah, that was what I would add.
Okay.
That will turn it over to the public.
Yeah, so commissioners, do you have any clarifying questions? Again, this is a time for us to ask clarifying questions rather than to present our own opinions or views. Commissioner Williams.
I do have a couple of questions, just clarifying, and sorry, you have a cat. Confirming that the Sunrise Boulevard project is that which will pave it to Burgess Road. I believe that's what I remember from a previous meeting.
I believe that's true.
Yes.
And then Cascade East Transit, is that a for-profit company?
I do not believe so.
Cascade, they're run by Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. So that's their
COIC.
COIC.
Okay. That those were my two questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Cyrus.
Yeah, I had a real quick question. I've received a lot of comments from concerned citizens at Black Butte Ranch about the trail proposed from Sisters to Black Butte. Now, it mentioned in there that it's parallel to Highway 20. Does that mean adjacent to or just parallel?
The specific design of it has not been completed. I think Peter can correct me on this. It's a Forest Service project. It's not something that the county is driving. So it's a good example of a synergy project that the county is including because it would connect an area of the county, but there's no specific design that's been proposed.
Okay, so no specific route. I just thought it might help for anybody who might be testifying tonight to understand more about what's proposed. So
Again, it would have to go through a Forest Service process for environmental assessment. And so it's just on our map. Typically, if a third party wants to seek grant funding, one of the things that's on a grant, whether feds or state, is this on the adopted transportation system plan. So that's why it's there. So it wouldn't be a county project. And whether it's, as Matt said, in US 20 highway right of way, or whether it's on Forest Service lands completely, that would be yet to be determined.
okay, thank you. Also, Madam Chair, when would be appropriate to enter information into the record?
Great question. So we can enter information into the record in writing, and we can submit that anytime we want.
Well, before it closes.
Yeah, so if you'd like to enter some information into the record and you haven't done that yet, then maybe I would suggest moving to keep the written record open when we get to the end of the hearing.
Or just do it at that point.
I think in our past processes, we've had us submit it in writing. That way we aren't changing from being in this role to being in the role of presenting public testimony during the hearing. But I don't know of any rule prohibiting that. You know, like if you were concerned that the written record,
I'll just email Tarek.
that would be great. Then
Thank you.
it will be in the record. That sounds like a really creative and good solution. Because I think sort of as a general thing, I think it's really important that commissioners are able to enter information in the record before we deliberate. Once the hearing's closed, we can't offer any more input in terms of data or things like that. So we're always trying to figure out, like, how can we be doing what we're doing up here and really being receptive to what everyone else has to say, but then also make sure that we as citizens also have a right to offer whatever we know that might be helpful in the process. So thank you for that creative and spontaneous spur of the moment solution. Awesome. Okay. Commissioner Williams, you still have your Zoom hand raised? Okay.
So looking at the number, it looks like over the next 20 years, approximately $9.45 million will be spent on these transportation improvements. The ODOT driven, like Lower Bridge and things like these, when the ODOT driven improvements occur, how handcuffed are we to the percentage that we as the county are responsible for? And it, you know, and I know we have materials and labor and things like that, but when it's ODOT driven, what's our percentage? What are we responsible for? That's just kind of what I'm curious about. You know, when the state is driving us to do something, and I know Lower Bridge needs to be changed, how handcuffed are we?
So typically, as Cody makes his way up here, or Chris, typically there's an intergovernmental agreement between the county and the Oregon Department of Transportation that sets out the financial responsibilities for each entity. Like any IGA, it can be, but I don't know if I would say we were handcuffed. We usually reach a mutually agreeable amount of percentage share, but I'm sure Chris can, our road department director, can add some more info.
So that's a pretty good explanation. I'm glad Peter's been paying attention for the last 35 years. This is a planning document. It declares our intent to participate at a certain level. But the details are put together in an intergovernmental agreement, or a series of them, as projects move towards development. So, it doesn't hamstring us or commit us to anything, but certainly declares our intent to participate in whatever project that is.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Williams? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more clarification questions from the commissioners. My plan is, as usual with our public hearings, if there are questions that you have for staff or for our consultant or even our ODOT Chris Doty, ODOT person.
Shutes County Road Department Director. Sorry.
Sorry. I got confused. But yes, if you guys have any questions for any of the staff present tonight, then please state the question during your public comment, and then we can keep track of those. And then at the end of the public hearing, we will have an opportunity for our staff members to respond to the questions that you have. That way we're not switching back and forth too much. Okay. Great. So I think we're ready to go ahead and move on to our public testimony. We have 3 blue sheets here about the transportation system plan. I believe Lauren Kramer, is your comment about the transportation system plan? Okay, great.
Madam Chair, is there a time limit?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on up. A couple of words before we get started. So we're going to try to recommend people give comments that are about 3 minutes long. And I already said my other things, so that's all my announcements.
Thank you for having this and hearing me. My name is Lauren Kramer. I am a Tumalo resident, and a few months ago, I heard from residents that they wanted to help with roundabout artwork, and there were some other residents that had already contacted Chris Doty with Roadworks Department. And at that time, there wasn't really much public input. So there was a couple public input sessions put on after that. And there are 4 different individuals and groups that want to submit artwork for the roundabout at US 20 and Cook Avenue. So it's my understanding, after communicating with Chris Doty and Emerald Shirley with ODOT, that there isn't any funding from ODOT or the county road department. So I'm hoping that maybe something can be allocated into this transportation plan for artwork at that entrance to Tumalo. Just right now, ODOT has it's like a circular rock formation. It's going to be 6 feet high. And to me, for an entrance to a community like Tumalo, it's kind of cold. Nothing against ODOT. I know their hands are tied with funding. So, but I feel like for a resident, it should be a little bit warmer, maybe some greenery. There's no water, so it's got to be low maintenance. There's a group of us. We've created a 501c3 called Tumalo Community Foundation. There's a process put in place for this artwork. We just need funding. So that's what I'm here for, to ask, is if there could be some funding allocated into that plan. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Can I just ask one clarifying question? Sorry to bring you back. Do you have any idea how much money?
So after talking to one of the artists who did the artwork in Sisters, it would be around 150,000. There's also some other residents that, and that's just for the artwork. Greenery could be a little bit more. Some of the other residents, they are offering to do it at no cost, but materials. So, I mean, I would guesstimate, if there is enough funding to do something really nice, low maintenance, around 200,000. And then we are also having a fundraiser in October to help fund. So there's something in place for maintenance, because it's to my understanding the county doesn't have any funding for maintenance going forward. Maybe that's something that can be allocated into this plan. But for weeding, if something hits something, to replace that. So that's why we're putting this 501c3 together for maintenance.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see. Next person on the list is Randy Windlinks.
Took the liberty of printing out a copy of my minutes for each of you guys to follow. I'm going to try to wrap this up in 3 minutes. It's going to be tight. I've been practicing at home, and I think I might be able to do it.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Randy Windlinks. I thank you for the opportunity to testify. One thing I want to go on the record right off the bat and state that public trails are not considered bicycle lanes or pedestrian walkways or sidewalks. They're specifically identified under Deschutes County Code and defined as public trail as a separate use. I propose that Deschutes County adopt language to its new proposed transportation plan to expressly exclude public trails that border or within any resource zone land. This exclusion shall include the following: the F1, F2, EFU, and lands that are zoned differently but are utilized for farm or timber practices. There is no compatibility between public trails and forest and farming practices. I request that this exclusion be adopted based on my own experience operating a commercial timber farm. Daily operations of the Windlinks Tree Farm include herbicide application for invasive weeds, insect control, industrial mowing, where anyone could be within 200 feet of the mower could be killed or severely injured, falling trees, controlled burning, and the operation of heavy equipment. All said activities create a danger to anyone using a public trail bordering our tree farm. Under the statutes and a little bit of decision, the Windlinks Tree Farm should not have to significantly alter or increase the cost of its farming practices for a public trail. As noted in the LUBA decision, farming practices of all kinds are susceptible to the effects of adjacent public trails. I'm going to jump to the end. Deschutes County resource lands provide diverse habitat opportunities for Central Oregon wildlife. Based on the hiking, mountain biking, equestrian use natural area study, public trails impact an area 1/4 of a mile wide. Public trails should have a significant impact on county declining mule deer population. All uses of public trails should displace sensitive mule deer habitat, especially in the forest and EFU zones. Other considerations are considering the catastrophic fires that are now a new normal with global climate change, public trails present a clear and present danger to the fire urban interface area as well as rural Deschutes County. Considerations must be given to the negative impact that the public trails should have on private property as well. I contend that public trails only provide infrastructure for the out of control homeless problem that Deschutes County and the Forest Service face. Public trails tend to degrade to homeless camps wherever they are constructed. Trail systems that border all 4 of Central Oregon major cities have degraded to severe homeless use. And that everyone knows that. Who will patrol these public trails for unlawful use such as camping or fire once they're constructed? I've talked with Shane Nelson and there's no infrastructure in place to patrol these trails once they're constructed. Homeless use will also contribute to the spread of wildfire, which we already know out at China Hat. There've been many, many fires. In conclusion, I urge the Planning Commission to restrict public trails that border or are within resource zone lands as well as lands utilized for farm and forest use. It is critical that we protect Deschutes County's resources and its wildlife, including mule deer. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much. All right. Next person's going to be David Thompson.
Good evening. My name is David Thompson. I'm actually the chair of the Deschutes County Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Thank you for hearing my testimony. I'm here to support the draft TSP plan, pedestrian and bicycle elements, and to give you just a little background on our work that went into that and explain maybe a little basis for some of the things that you see in there. So the committee actually adopted a work plan at the beginning of 2020 prior to the TSP update process beginning to identify connections between Deschutes County communities and connections between Deschutes County communities and popular recreational opportunities, and to look at how we could provide non-motorized access between our communities and to recreation from our communities. There were 2 reasons that we felt it was timely to start looking at that. One is the e-bike revolution, which drastically changes the ability of individuals to use a bicycle as transportation over a longer distance than if they were strictly operating under their own power. And the second is with the increasing push to find ways to decarbonize our transportation system and hopefully avoid some of the worst effects of climate change. We believe that there's going to be a lot of funding opportunities to build infrastructure that will provide a way to allow people to transport themselves without necessarily using an automobile. So based on those 2 things, we started by interviewing the staff at the communities within Central Oregon. We also talked to ODOT, we talked to county staff, we talked to both Bend Parks and Redmond Parks to understand their goals within their areas of providing paths and ways for people to get around. And then starting with that, we then came up with our prioritized list of potential connections. And again, as was stated in the presentation, these are not routes. These are just, we would like people to be able to get from A to B without necessarily having to drive a car to get there. So we put that together. Also, I think this is a good point to note that while our focus is on non-motorized transportation, these paths do provide recreational opportunities, and they will if built, provide recreational opportunities to people in rural Deschutes County that currently have, places they have to walk or bicycle or on road shoulders in general. So this is not just a way to get people between communities. It's also, we believe, a good amenity for people that live in the rural areas.
So your time's about up. I gave you a little extra because
Yeah.
I gave the gentleman before you a little extra. So
So I'll just finish by saying that we spent a lot of time with county staff. We believe the language in the TSP is a huge step forward from just the recreational view of bicycling and walking that was in the previous one, and now looks at it as a transportation option. And we encourage the commission to consider that in your deliberation. Thank you.
thanks very much. Okay. Next we have John Roberts.
Good evening, Planning Commission. John Roberts, I'm the Deputy City Manager for the City of Redmond. My focus with the city is primarily on land use policy and planning. So thank you for your time. And just a couple comments I'd like to make. We, the city, are very appreciative of being part of the process. We felt very involved, and all our comments were addressed. There's about 15 projects identified in the county TSP that are very important to Redmond and help with the rural urban connections and mobility issues we are facing. So again, from a staff perspective, really good coordination, collaboration, excellent consultant, and great staff to work with. Really, what we want to make you aware of is not necessarily an issue that is applicable tonight per se, but it's just a desire that when this is ultimately adopted, that perhaps that happens in late October or later. We at the city think there's an opportunity to have the details of the county TSP discussed between both Redmond City Council and the county commissioners October 17th. The county commissioners and city council meet frequently throughout the year to discuss issues. Their next meeting again is October 17th. And I know that Dodie is available and willing to provide a more in-depth analysis to our city council at that meeting regarding the state requirements and sort of background associated with this document. But also there's an equal opportunity for the city to talk with the county about further analysis we have been doing on our employment lands, our large lot industrial lands, which gets to the point of our larger issue of exploring interchange alternatives on South Highway 97 or south of our urban growth boundary. So from a staff perspective, I think the plan has done as good a job as it can to speak to and identify those interchange alternatives. But again, I think our city council would like to learn more about the process and the requirements and enlighten the county commissioners on where we're at in our first and initial steps to amend our TSP. So we, the city, went through a very similar process and sort of had our recent TSP finished in 2018 and adopted in 2020. And immediately upon adoption, we realized it was maybe a little antiquated already. So with that, that concludes my comments.
Thank you for being here, and thanks for collaborating too. Okay. Are there any other comments on the transportation system plan from people here in person? I've gone through all the blue sheets I've received so far. Would anyone else like to comment or fill out a blue sheet? Okay, and then looking on Zoom, are there any members of the oh, Peter?
I will follow suit after.
Okay. Are there any members of the public present on Zoom who would like to make a comment on the transportation system plan? If so, please raise your Zoom hand and then you can be elevated to a panelist. We're not seeing any Zoom hands raised at this time. Okay. Peter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Peter Gutowski, Community Development Director. I just want to acknowledge Commissioner Cyrus but before the hearing was formally opened, acknowledged an email that he was going to submit in terms of requesting additional information. Just want to acknowledge some of the logistical issues with the request. Commissioner Cyrus respectfully suggested that the entire mule deer record be entered into the transportation system plan update record. And that I just want to acknowledge that that's not something that we've typically received. The materials are in Acela, and I just acknowledge that to move those. To move that testimony from the mule deer record, which has been closed and the file's been closed, as we all know, that the board withdrew those amendments. It could be somewhat time consuming to move those files one by one. I also think we need to think about with legal counsel. More often than not, we would ask a resident or a planning commissioner to identify those PDFs that they want, and and if we were really concerned, we'd say you need to provide those to us. Nonetheless, this is a planning commissioner. I understand that there may be some crossover themes that the mule deer inventory testimony address that could apply the TSP update. More than anything, I'm just acknowledging that it's complicated. And to the extent that the record's left open, I just want to make sure that there's enough time for our staff to kind of navigate this request to ensure that to ensure that we process this request respectfully, and that we have the time to do it. Because there's quite a lot of materials.
Can I just a quick question? Are you asking for it sounds like you're asking for us to consider that when we make our decision, but are you asking anything from Commissioner Cyrus right now? Any clarification of what his?
I'm not asking for any direction from the Planning Commission or anything from Commissioner Cyrus. I'm just acknowledging the circumstance, and it's somewhat, it's unusual, and I don't have legal counsel here. And I want to be respectful to the request again, because there may be some themes that came up with the mule deer inventory that apply to the transportation system plan update. One of the items that you're going to discuss momentarily is whether or not you want to leave the record open. And in light of Commissioner Cyrus's request, and we can't, you're going to want to leave that record open so we can accommodate this request and consistent with our protocols and requirements. So Will Groves, our planning manager, may have other thoughts too.
I'm going to actually just give Commissioner Cyrus a chance to say what's on your mind, because I can tell that you're interested in.
Yeah, and maybe this will help a little bit. We took a significant amount of testimony on the mule deer related to public impacts on the mule deer and how they were affected. A lot of those had to do with trail systems. A bunch of the studies were entered into the record that were specifically addressing trail impact on mule deer. And I figured that was probably some of the best source of information, rather than my assumption was it was a fairly simple just transfer from digital files from one source to another, and maybe that's not the case.
I think we're hearing that I think the message is clear that that's not the.
We don't know.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's not. It could be complicated.
It could be.
Maybe we have an answer.
So I thank you, your planning manager, William Rose. So we have a records policy that says that we will not retrieve links when people say, hey, I want you to grab all this stuff and bring it in. So if you want to submit something to the record, you need to identify the materials and provide them in an email so that they come in. Because you're a planning commissioner, there may be, in coordination with legal counsel, there may be some special accommodation. But I want to make you aware of what you're doing when you pull the whole thing in rather than selected materials, is that you are expected to make a decision based on the entirety of the record. And you're supposed to, as part of that review all of those materials. So you would be asking the planning commission and the board to read and be familiar with everything that you would inserted into the record as they make this decision about the transportation system plan.
That's actually why I asked for that record, because we just literally went through that in the last few months. Mm-hmm. And based on my familiarity with what's in the record, I thought that information would be relevant toward the discussion on trails.
Okay. And that's certainly to the extent you would submit the PDFs, that's consistent with our policy in terms of retrieving it electronically. It's something we'll coordinate with legal. I just would sincerely request that to the extent you could limit those records to the ones specific to trails rather than the entirety, given the volume of it. There's some logistical difficulties and obligations that, reviewers are being put to by pulling in everything. You certainly at the same moment could ask that large other records also be included. And so if excerpts are possible at all, it solves a lot of problems.
So I would modify my request, assuming we can leave the record open for a few days, and I will go through and identify which ones are there still access to the ones that were provided?
Definitely.
Okay, then I will go through and I'll identify which ones I'd like moved over.
We really appreciate that.
Yes.
We can help
We'll
coordinate.
see if we can simplify it,
And it's-
cut it down from a few hundred to a handful.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
So that's a pretty just to kind of reiterate for the planning commission, it seems like the staff have presented a reason to leave the written record open to respond appropriately to a commissioner's request that information be added to the record. So I'm not going to deliberate at all on a motion we haven't made yet, but I'm just pointing out that since there's no more further public comment on the transportation system plan, now is the time for us to take our next step, which will be to consider a motion on what to do with the record. We could hold the oral and written record open and continue the hearing to a date certain. We could close the oral record and hold the written record open to a date certain. We could close both the oral and written record and set a date certain for deliberation, or we could close both the oral and written record and begin deliberations. Commissioner Williams, you have your Zoom hand raised.
I would move that we close the oral record and leave the written record open until August 16, which will be next Wednesday, I believe. And
That is next-
then, okay, that's my motion.
Okay, so is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to close the oral record and leave the written record open until August 16th. Commissioner Williams, as the maker of the motion, you can say what's on your mind about this motion first.
I find what Commissioner Cyrus says is very valid about trail use. And we had a very vibrant talk about mule deer. And Commissioner Cyrus, there's going to be a lot of stuff you're going to have to comb through to put into the record. I feel that a week, I feel that a week should be enough to gather that information. But I do think it's poignant to the TSP.
Mr. Cyrus?
Yeah, I would rather see the record left open for at least 2 weeks. Otherwise I'd go back to my original request to move the whole record because I haven't got with my current workload time to go through all of the record in that amount of time. So I would move to amend the record, the written record stay open for 2 weeks and that we deliberate the following meeting after that.
I am friendly to that amendment.
Okay, so now we've amended the motion.
She accepted as a friendly, so we don't need to.
I was just going to say what the new motion is.
I'm sorry, can I get a point of just to clarify?
Yes.
So I just as the summer and as we head into the fall calendar unfold, so there's a meeting on August 10th and then there's a meeting on August 24th. September 14th, the planning commission is going to be scheduled to have a retreat. So deliberations wouldn't occur on September 14th. September 28th, there's a joint meeting with the Board of County Commissioners. And I wouldn't be inclined to schedule deliberations following a 90 to 2 hour meeting with the Board of County Commissioners. Of course, we're not on any kind of 150-day timeline, but I'm just letting you know that if you extend it beyond a week, the deliberations would occur on October 12th.
Okay, I'll comment first, just to reiterate what our current motion is: close the oral record, leave the written record open until, what was the date?
2 weeks.
So 2 weeks from today will be
August 24th.
August 24th. Okay. So my comment is, that I feel like, I think I heard clearly from staff that they would much prefer, Commissioner Cyrus, to have a chance to submit the items that are most relevant to, the trails. And, I really want to respect your time, that, we all have full-time jobs. Yours is like an extra several full-time jobs. And so I just really want to respect your time. And so I would probably would support this current amendment. And I'm not too concerned about the timeline. As Peter said, we're not under any sort of time crunch. And also we did have a member of or a member of a different government, rather, a member of the public, actually requesting that the board not, that we not rush this through, so that the city of Redmond has a chance to talk with the Board of County Commissioners at their joint meeting. So all those things considered, I plan to support the motion.
That seems very reasonable.
Okay. Is there, yes, Commissioner Cyrus.
So question.
Oh, I do that every time. Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know, that means that Commissioner Cyrus is ready to vote. But is there any further debate on the motion? Oh, yeah. An actual question.
Calling them the other senior transportation planner. I have we typically have a time of the date for the cutoff. So if you
Time.
a certain time in mind of that date 2 weeks from now, that would help us know when the exact cutoff is in terms of time of day.
I would assume close of business, so it should be 5 o'clock.
Commissioner Williams, do you support that as a friendly amendment? 5 p.m. adding 5 p.m.
I do. Yes.
Okay, great. So I think we can go ahead and proceed to vote on the motion to close the oral record and leave the written record open until 5 p.m. on August 24th. Oh, you're muted.
23rd, which would be the Wednesday, not the Thursday.
Okay. I think the amendment was to 2 weeks from today, and then 2
weeks from today is what I was.
Yeah. So
Chair Curious, I'm so sorry for just clarifying point, and Peter just pointed this out, is that there's a somewhat significant difference between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. in terms of the lobby hours. If someone were to come in for a physical submittal of a written testimony, it would not be open for receiving that at 5 p.m. It would up until 4 p.m.
oh, okay. That's
day of. I can
yeah.
still receive emails and things like that up till 5 p.m. But in order, just pointing out there might be some conflict in terms of if someone had a physical written submittal and came in at between 4 and 5 p.m. There would not be, the lobby wouldn't be open for them across the street. So.
Okay, so I'm going to just order us a little bit here. So you were the one who made the friendly amendment for 2 weeks. Did you mean to suggest 8/24 or 8/23?
My intent was 2 weeks from today, which is 8/24.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Commissioner Williams, are you amenable to the friendly amendment of 8/24? Okay,
And 4 o'clock is fine for me if that works better for the
That would-
coordinating staff.
Thank you.
okay. And since we're still on your original motion, Commissioner Williams, is 4 amenable to you as well?
It is.
Okay. So now the motion reads, close the oral record and leave the written record open until 4 p.m. on August 24th. All right, cool. So we're going to go ahead and vote. Commissioner Cyrus, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
And I will also vote yes. So it's unanimous. The motion passes to close the oral record and leave the written record open until 4 p.m. on August 24th, 2023. All right. So now we can move on to our next item that's on the agenda, which is our public hearing for the Tumalo Community Plan 2020 to 2040. And I will go ahead and turn it over again to Peter Russell, Senior Transportation Planner, and Tarek Rawlings, Senior Transportation Planner.
Oh, sure. Just run away on me.
Oh, thank you.
Did you run off more? Oh, thank you. Ready?
Right.
Got it? There we go. Okay. All right, part two. Peter Russell, Senior Transportation Planner for Deschutes County, retired on call. This is the time and place set for a hearing on file 24723000509 PA 510 TA concerning proposed updates to Deschutes County's existing 2010-2030 Tumalo Community Plan and the County Comprehensive Plan reflecting the years 2020 to 2040. Okay. Just as we did for the TSP hearing, the Planning Commission will hear oral testimony, receive written testimony, and consider the testimony submitted at this hearing. The hearing is also being recorded. The Planning Commission may make a decision on this matter tonight, continue the public hearing to a date certain, or leave the written record open for a specified period of time. The hearing will be conducted in the following order. Staff will give a report on this issue. We will then open the hearing to all present and ask people to present testimony at one of the tables or at the podium. You can also provide the commission with a copy of written testimony. Record materials may be viewed at the project website shown on the screen here. Again, this is a hybrid hearing. If you are participating in person, please fill out a blue sign-up sheet, which are still over on the side of the room there, and submit to staff. You will then be called to the table to provide testimony. For more remote participants, please indicate if you'd like to provide testimony by using the raise hand button in Zoom or by dialing *9 if you are participating via phone. The chair will then call on participants with hands raised to provide testimony. Questions to and from the chair may be entertained at any time at the chair's discretion. Cross-examination of people testifying will not be allowed. However, if any person wishes to ask a question of another person during that person's testimony, please direct your question to the chair after being recognized. The chair is free to decide whether or not to ask such questions of the person testifying. Prior to the commencement of the hearing, any party may challenge the qualifications of any commissioner for conflict of interest. This challenge must be documented with specific reasons supported by facts. Should any commissioner be challenged, the member may disqualify himself or herself, withdraw from the hearing, or make a statement on the record of their capacity to hear and decide on this issue. At this time, do any members of the commission need to set forth any information that may be perceived as a conflict of interest? And we're up to you, Chair Karras.
Does any commissioner have anything to disclose? And if so, please state the nature of same and whether you can proceed.
No.
And Commissioner Williams, I can't see you on the screen. Anything to declare? Okay.
That's his board.
What's that?
No, so you did that, so you're good. So now, does any party wish to challenge any commissioner based on conflicts of interest?
Okay. As no challenges are presented, the hearing is now open. Staff will proceed with a brief report.
Okay, so the purpose of tonight's public hearing is to provide your context and background on the Tumalo Community Plan. This will be very similar from what we heard at the work session on the 27th. We're going to recap the development of the draft Tumalo Community Plan, including Planning Commission feedback from July 27th work session. The main purpose of tonight is to collect public testimony, of course, and then identify next steps. So what is a community plan? For those who haven't seen this before, it's an appendix to the Deschutes County Comprehensive Plan. Like the comprehensive plan, it has a 20-year planning horizon. It deals with a specific geographic area. It sets an overall vision for that defined area, contains goals and policies, but it's a guidance document for land use, which means it does not contain approval criteria. So again, what is Tumalo? It's an unincorporated community under Oregon Administrative Rule 660-022. Specifically, it's a rural unincorporated community per that OAR 660-022-0010 subset 7, and it's administered under Deschutes County Development Code 1867 Tumalo Rural Community. The Tumalo Community Plan doesn't propose any changes to the zoning in 1867. So all the uses that are allowed outright or conditionally will remain the same after the Tumalo Community Plan. So for those who don't know where Tumalo is, which I'm sure everyone here does know where Tumalo is. So on the far left side, you can see a general location map. It's about 3 miles to the northwest of Bend. The middle map is the zoning. So the light yellow is residential. The kind of orangish is your residential 5-acre minimum. The red is commercial and the gray is industrial. And the brown is the research and development zone. And then the map on the far right is going to be the orange is developed lots. Right? No, it's vacant lots. The boy got a, yeah, the orange is the vacant lots and the gray are the developed lots. Right? So the county has several plans that have been going on almost simultaneous with the Tumalo Community Plan. These have overlapped in time. We have staff working to coordinate. So we have the comprehensive 2040 plan. That's Nicole Mardell's been leading that. The transportation system plan have been Tarek and I with the road department funding it. So Cody Smith and Chris Doty have also been involved. The Tumalo Community Plan, again, it's been kind of Tarek and I leading that. And then we had a TGM grant, Transportation and Growth Management, which concentrated on bike, ped, and transit section in Tumalo. Again, that was Tarek and I. So next. So other activities that have occurred in Tumalo that weren't related to our comp plan, the county funded a request from the community for a sewer feasibility study. That's been completed. The Oregon Department of Transportation is constructing a 2-lane roundabout at the intersection of US 20, Obie Riley, and Cook. And then the county also approved a multi-use path underneath 20th US 20 at 4th Street. That'll take you down to Strickler to provide an easy route for pedestrians and bikes to cross the highway. So to do a net grade crossing. So why would we update the Tumalo Community Plan? It's very similar to the reasons we're updating the Transportation System Plan. Typically, plans are updated at the halfway mark, which we are in 2010, 2030. There's a lot of population growth by Tumalo standards. There's been a rise of several local businesses we didn't have in the earlier plans, such as food carts, people making our artisan goods, cideries, other similar uses that were not present in Tumalo earlier. There's now a small sewer system that serves a new neighborhood south of US 20, which is a little denser than typical Tumalo densities. The roundabout I already mentioned is going in. And then, of course, there's an increase in traffic volumes on not only the state highway, but on county roads in Tumalo, particularly Cook Avenue / Klein Falls Highway and Tumalo Road. So how did we do the outreach for this Tumalo Community Plan? It's been fairly extensive. We did flyers prior to the first open house, which was in May of 2022. Tarek and I walked all over Tumalo, putting up flyers on the bulletin boards, the gas station, the vet clinic, the pizza parlor, the post office, if they had a bulletin board, they got a flyer. We also created a website for the Tumalo Community Plan, did a story map. We sent emails out to every, mailed notice to every address within Tumalo, announcing the first open house. So we had 3 total. We developed a contact list from those flyers and from the open houses. So we continued through constant contact software. Nicole made sure that everybody got noticed. We had face-to-face meet a planner sessions for those who are uncomfortable speaking in large groups or didn't want to, go on the web. We had stakeholder interviews, and then we sent out notice for this hearing, as well as having a work session on July 27th, which the public could attend but not comment on. So we've done a massive amount of public outreach. So as part of that, we got issues raised by the public. The main one we've always heard was the fear of losing the rural or small town feel of Tumalo. Concerns about the rapid growth in Tumalo, how that may be changing the community. A desire to address natural resources such as the Deschutes River, recreation and open space was very important to the community. The need to protect the Deschutes. Various views on recent economic development. Some folks in Tumalo thought it was great. Some folks were horrified. Some were in the middle. Then we have concerns about tourism, that yes, there are positives, but here are the negatives of tourism. Everybody was concerned about the rising traffic volumes in Tumalo and higher speeds within the community. Again, when I'm talking about that, I'm not meaning Wharton or Riverside. It's more the main drags through Tumalo of, Klein Falls, Tumalo, Cook, Obie Riley. And then concerns about the sewer costs and effects. So responding to that public input, we said we will keep the vision statement unchanged from the current one, the 2010, 2030. We added 3 new goals and 17 new policies, which are in the handouts. We had changes to 3 existing goals, 26 existing policies, no changes to 9 existing policies. We deleted 10 outdated policies. They're either irrelevant, the project was asking for it already been accomplished, or they're no longer germane. We gave the planning commission, it's also on the website, a color-coded version of the Tumalo Community Plan, so it's easier to tell at a glance what's new, what's the same, what's deleted. And then we did a spreadsheet, again, it's up on the website, that if you want to know what did the 2010 plan actually specifically say, and then the language is there verbatim, so it's the language on the 2020 plan, and then why there is the difference. There's some explanatory footnote on that. And then why did we do that? Because when you use underline and strike through, it's an unreadable document, to be honest. So our color code was green, no change between 2010 and 2020, blue, 2010 text modified, the 2020 TCP, but minor modification, yellow, brand new text, red, deleted text. And again, as I said previously, we have the verbatim text from both plans, so you compare and contrast, and it has notes explaining the changes. So the workshop, how does this document relationship to the Tumalo sewer feasibility study? It really doesn't have one, and the effect that the Tumalo sewer feasibility study was about cost using various assumptions. This is a land use policy document. So what we did, if you may not like what the sewer feasibility study, its assumptions, that's certainly fine. But we're concentrating is how would our policies respond to potential sewer in Tumalo. I mean, currently there is no sewer district proposed in Tumalo. There's been discussion back and forth, but we've got the policies in case a sewer district ever is formed in Tumalo. Also, we added in the memo that you had today, what was the difference between a land use application and a sewer feasibility study. So we went in some depth. I apologize for my, massive amounts of paragraphs between what's a current land use application process, what's a long range planning process, and what's a sewer feasibility study. Want to make sure everybody was clear on the distinction in planning's eyes. And then if you just want to cut to the chase, the public facilities section deals with sewer, and the policies are 1, 2, 8, 9, and 10. Those are our major ones about sewer. One of the things we heard about the sewer was, of course, concerns about the construction costs, the operation costs, and the requirement to hook up if it's legally available. Are there grants available for, funding the sewer? So those were all dealt with. Grant funding, no, that's something the planning commission is deliberations. If you want to have a policy in there, we can do that. And currently, I don't think we have one. And again, if the sewer district is formed, we can certainly amend these public facilities policies as needed. So just as we did with the transportation system plan, our next steps are the planning commission will open the public hearing. Tarek and I will fade to the back and take notes. The planning commission then, after the conclusion of public testimony tonight, has 4 options. You can continue it to a date certain. Both the oral and written records remain open. You can, just as with the TSP, again, you can close the oral record, leave the written open to a date certain. You can close them both and set a date for deliberations. You can close both, close the hearing totally, begin deliberations tonight. You could make a decision August 24th. It just depends. It's up to your druthers. I just picked that day because at the time that was your next date where you weren't overloaded with stuff, to use a technical term. But it's all up to you when you want to set your deliberations and make your decision or your recommendation. So once you do that, regardless of whatever date it occurs on, the planning commission makes a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. That recommendation can range from we recommend approval as it was proposed. We recommend approve with these following modifications that we recommend, or you can recommend denial. The staff will then hold a work session with the Board of County Commissioners, summarize what we heard during the planning commission process, and then hold a public hearing. The dates on these have yet to be set because they're going to be tied to when the planning commission makes its decisions. So with that, if you have any questions for Tarek or I, we're available.
Clarification questions, anyone?
No.
I can't see Commissioner Williams, so, okay. All right, great. Then we will just go ahead and proceed with our public testimony. So I don't have any blue sheets from any of you, but awesome. I'll take that. And if anyone else would like to comment, please feel free to fill out one of these. I'm been very interested and curious to see what you guys think. So, to the extent people would like to comment, we're excited to hear.
Thank you. I'm Jim Dunn. I live in Tumalo. My concern is on the communication overall. We had 1 week notice for this meeting. The date, the time, and the location weren't specified. I sent a note to Tarek, never got a response. That's why we only have 4 people here. I don't think that's fair if you really Your number one goal is to gain public comment. Feel like we're doing an end around. My concern, if we had any meetings since May 17th regarding Tumalo plan. I'll ask Ms. Kelly.
So actually, we're not taking questions at this time. We're just.
My concern is
taking
May
the ordinance.
17th, you saw passion from our group in Tumalo. There were 100 some people there, mostly residents. And they were concerned. We asked our representative, keep us informed. I haven't received anything. You want public comment? I don't think you do. Your actions speak volumes. So I don't think that's fair. So again, I asked why no one communicated to us about this meeting. If your number one goal is to gain public comment. Is that a fair statement?
No, but I'll answer it when you're done.
So what we're going to do with questions that you have for staff is address those at the end of the public comment. I do have a clarification question for you, just to make sure I understand what happened with the communication. So you said earlier, like, you didn't actually receive any information about the date or the time or the location of the meeting, but you
looked at your website after we got the notification, which was 1 week prior to today. There was no location. I reached out to Tarek with an email saying, please let us know the time and location, because most of our meetings have been at the Tumalo Elementary School. So the assumption by a large group, and then we're in travel season, vacation season. So I don't think 1 week notice is fair to anybody. So my question to the group, if I can ask a question, when was this meeting set? Was it just this last week?
So again, we're not actually taking questions, we're just taking comment. However,
Rhetoric question. My point is the communication's been very poor. May 17th meeting, we saw the passion from those 150 residents were there. How come we haven't gotten together to talk about, put a little color commentary onto that passion that was in that meeting?
Yeah.
So,
Actually,
big
your
concern.
comment's very valuable, because we're going to be, after the conclusion of anyone who wants to provide comment, we're going to be making a decision about what to do with the record. So actually, the information you're providing us right now is really useful, and I appreciate it.
And there again, 150 people, and we're talking August 24th to close this matter. I don't think that's fair, because again, you have 4 or 5 people here. Other people don't know about it. I was on vacation. I cut my vacation short to come here. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for letting us know. Okay. Other people who you guys are here, would you like to comment on the plan at all? We are interested to hear what people who are here have to say. And if you don't want to, that's totally understandable too. Okay, so I'm not seeing anyone else raise your hand, and I want to respect that. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to provide a comment about the plan? Okay. So now I'm going to give our staff an opportunity to respond to, am I seeing a Zoom hand? Okay, so hang tight. We're going to hear from our member of the public on Zoom as soon as they are promoted to a panelist.
Hello, my name is Susie Hart. I live in Tumalo, and to let you know, first of all, there was I had to look up how to do this by phone, because I also was out of town and only had short notice about this meeting. But so I looked it up online, and the phone number was given, and I forget what the next thing is called, but the meeting number was given, so I could put that in, and the password was given, so I could put that in. But I was just guessing as to what to press to raise my hand, because none of that information was given. So I'm just lucky that it worked when I tried *9, because I tried other numbers first. So I didn't know what it was supposed to be. So just to let you know about, again, the communication issue. And then insofar as the meetings that I've attended and the things that I've read about the Tumalo Community Plan, if the goal is been agreed upon to allow or try to keep Tumalo as atmosphere the way it has been, a small rural farming community, I don't feel that the changes that are proposed are going to meet those objectives. It really seems to me more like the plans are more for making it a hub for more sports, including biking and water sports. And we already have a fair amount of that already that has totally changed what Tumalo is like. And so to encourage more of that and to, it just seems to me like it's more of a proposal to extend Bend and make it more like what's going on down at the Colorado Street Bridge and the floating and all of that, just to bring that to Tumalo, which is not in line with, it seems to me, with keeping it as a rural, small community. So those are the main concerns that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other members of the public on Zoom? Okay. Again, as Peter said at the beginning, just in case anyone's listening and doesn't know how to raise their hand or indicate by phone, as Susie Hart just said, it is *9, but that's also in our script that Peter read earlier. In case anyone out there listening needs that information, press the *9 and that is the way to raise your hand if you're not on Zoom but are dialing in by phone. Okay, so I'll give our staff a chance to respond to the issue about communication prior to the meeting.
So there's a distinction between a workshop and a legislative amendment. So workshop, we're much more free. Legislative amendment, we have certain requirements we have to meet. So we published notice of this on July 20th in the bulletin. It's advance notice. We had it up on our website beforehand. So then what we did to make sure that people still knew about it, we used the constant contact email list and sent that out about a week before. So you always have the hard part about how soon is too soon, it gets lost. So you send it 3 weeks, does it get lost? You send it 1 day, that's too short. 2 weeks. So we sent it like roughly a week before to everyone on our constant contact list. Again, we're complying with state rules for legislative amendments and county code and section chapter 22 about how to notice an amendment. Again, the planning commission can continue the oral and written record open if you feel that there's been insufficient notification, but we've complied with county code and state law.
Just a quick question for, because I think this is going to come in handy when we deliberate what to do with the record. Did you publish the location of the meeting on the website and in the emails that went out?
I know it was on the bulletin notice. I don't have the email in front of me. We can look for it and see if it's on there or not.
But in both the constant contact and the bulletin notice has the address of like the building on it and things like that. So that does have the location. Constant contact points and the project specific website points to the broad meetings page, which often can change even when the agendas are generated. And so that's kind of common practice just for getting people to the meetings page, landing there and getting what they could see the upcoming planning commission with the whole agenda packet and the time right there. So that's typically what was provided on the constant contact and the bulletin notice just for that project website. But that bulletin notice did have the location.
You're saying like the project website probably didn't have the location on it because that's not
spelled right out because it's not necessarily generated at that time. And so there's a way to be pointed to the meetings portal, which you're familiar with, just where your packet is and things. So that's the format that those notices took.
I'd also point out at the last open house we had in Tumalo, I pointed out that we're going to have an August 10th planning commission. That's when we'll be presenting it. So as 150 people were in attendance, and I said several times, we're going to meet in front of the planning commission on August 10th.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
May 22nd.
Okay, so we're not going to go back and forth between people. But I do appreciate the information. Thank you for responding to my questions. And Peter also had his.
If I may, again, Peter Gutowski, Community Development Director. I mean, this is an important plan. There's been a lot of history, a lot of engagement. And certainly, you know, we want, I think from a planning division standpoint, I think it's imperative that the hearing I would recommend that the hearing be left open, continue the hearing for 2 weeks. The planning commission meets the second and fourth Thursdays of every month. And so for the residents that are here, again, it will be up to the planning commission to determine if they want to continue the record for both oral and written record, but I would continue it for 2 weeks to the extent that there are members of the public who are still on vacation, or, the planning commission can receive testimony and continue the hearing again. The key is to make certain that the public feels like they've been heard. And so, as I mentioned, for the transportation system plan update, there's no timeline involved here. So the planning commission has tremendous discretion to determine how they want to schedule these proceedings. And we can certainly, update the web pages to better clarify, rather than referring to someone to a meeting portal, so that it states that the public hearing's been continued to August 24th at 5:30 in the Barnes and Sawyer rooms. And then, eventually we would like to hear, hopefully when members of the public come up, they can tell us about the plan, because all we've heard right now is from two individuals, and one in particular who's been frustrated about the process and not having an opportunity for the community to voice their opinions. And we want to hear their opinions, as poignant and respectful as they may be and divergent as they may be. So that would be my respectful observation and suggestion for the planning commission as you conclude tonight's hearing.
Okay, thank you. So a couple notes before we entertain a motion on what to do with the hearing. Were you about to make a motion?
I was gonna make a motion.
Okay, let me just say a couple things. Just so you guys know who we are, we don't work for the county. We're not the county staff, and we are not elected by you guys. We're just people, and we are actually care what you are thinking about this plan, because we don't know. One of us lives in Tumalo. I drive through Tumalo every day, but I live in between Redmond and Sisters. I don't know what the people of Tumalo want. Peter said, we really want the members of the public to feel heard, but I would go one step further than that. I don't want you to just feel heard. I want to hear you. I actually really care what you think. So, with that in mind, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I move to continue the oral hearing through our next meeting, which is the 24th. Continue leave the oral hearing open.
Yeah, leave both the oral.
Oral and written, certainly.
Hold the oral and written record open and continue the hearing until through August 24th.
Through our meeting on August
At least-
24th.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I second that.
Okay. Commissioner Williams, you're on mute. And before you
I
actually
second.
okay. So Commissioner Kelly actually seconded it already.
I'll third it.
That's good to know where he stands. So it has been moved and seconded that we hold the oral and written record open and continue to a date certain, specifically August 24th. Is there any debate on the motion?
Sure. I'd just like to comment that, we can certainly at that time determine whether or not, when we want to close the record based on what we get for testimony, et cetera. But I agree. I mean, I'm neutral completely on the Tumalo plan. I want to hear from the residents of Tumalo on what you guys want. And so you've got 2 weeks to recruit. And if you can fill the room with 100 people, so be it. If you've got people that want to be heard, we'd like to hear you. So that's why I agree with Peter. I mean, we want to hear from more than two of you. So please come see us.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly, do you have anything you want to say about the motion before we vote?
No, I don't have anything to say, and I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'm also kind of curious, like, if, is there a way we can improve? If there's other systems or something, maybe you guys can provide, written comment to the planning, to the directors, sorry, I don't know your title. About how communication could maybe be, enhanced or bettered so that we can get as much, diverse comment as possible.
Great suggestion. So we can't take public comment right now because we're deliberating, but after the meeting or after,
You're not deliberating. You just can,
well, we're deliberating about the motion to keep the record open or not. So since there's a motion on the floor, we can't really take additional comment.
just wanted to clarify that.
Sorry. Yes, I appreciate the word change there. So
My email address back up on the screen real quick.
that would be helpful. Thank you. That's a good question. So as soon as we vote on what to do with the motion, I think that might be a good time to yeah, at that time, I think we can take any questions that were suggestions about how to communicate. We wouldn't be entertaining further comment about the plan at that time, but we would take suggestions per Commissioner Kelly's suggestion. Okay, so Commissioner Williams, do you have any comment before we vote? Okay, great. So I think we're ready to vote on the motion to hold the oral and written record open and continue the hearing until or through August 24th, 2023. Commissioner Cyrus, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Hi.
And I'll also vote yes, so it is unanimous. The motion is passed. We'll hold the oral and written record open and continue the hearing to a date certain. What that means is that we're doing this again on August 24th. Please tell everybody that you know who might be interested, that we actually really want to hear what they have to say. We're not just trying to get through some sort of governmental procedure. Like, we don't know. We have to hear from you. We have a summary of comments from the previous open houses and meetings, and those have been useful to us in sort of understanding where the community's at, but nothing's hits home quite like just hearing directly from people themselves. So Commissioner Kelly was wondering, is there something that we could do to improve? Obviously, putting the location of the meeting on all of the materials very clearly would definitely help. We heard that one loud and clear. Is there anything else that you guys would like to recommend in order to get this, get our attendance up here?
Email alerts was to be communicated, and it literally came a week ago. And I don't know anybody that subscribes to a bulletin. No offense to you, but I mean, kind of like the way the dinosaur. So I signed up for the Tumalo alerts probably when I moved out there, which was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. So that was the point, right? That we were going to get notified. And I don't think a week is enough notice.
So if we asked our staff to notify everyone, like, can you send out a constant contact email, like maybe tomorrow? I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but if they were able to do that, do you feel like 2 weeks would be enough time for people who want to comment to get here in 2 weeks? Or write in, of course. Yeah. Commissioner Cyrus? Oops.
That notice that I got last week, Jim was right. There was no location.
Okay.
So I guess I would ask, is there a community bulletin board or something that would be helpful that somebody could post something on, or is there a better communication way to reach people?
Your Tumalo representative, we had a list of all the emails that were given to you at that May 17th meeting, including mine. We were expecting to rally the troops to say, hey, here's the meetings that we'd like to get together, get some additional color commentary. Now, my question is, have you met with businesses and not the residents? That's what goes through our mind.
I think my understanding is that the staff had sent out the email through the constant contact, but it was really just too late. They were struggling to figure out when's the right timing and they sent it out a week before, but we're,
We were fighting for.
Yes.
A Tumalo representative has now reached out to the Tumalonians that are on that email list that we provided in May 17th. Our assumption was anything important, like this meeting, anything important, like any updates, we would get together as a group. We had our own little sessions at the Tumalo Elementary School out in the grounds, and we had 65 people there.
And Madam Chair, if I
Hold-
may,
hold on.
I think the discourse is important, but we have people that are watching remotely. And so to the extent, I would respectfully ask, to the extent that members of the audience want to engage the planning commission and the chair wants to receive those questions, if you could come sit at the table as opposed to
so you have a microphone.
from the back aisle. So please come up to the table if you want to introduce yourself. It just will allow for those that are participating remotely, and I think it's proper decorum.
Yeah, thank you, Peter,
Jim
for
Dack,
reminding me.
Tumalo, and my concern, we fought for a Tumalo representative, and we felt that Tumalo representative would represent the Tumalonians. And we haven't heard anything. So,
You mind if I respond to that?
yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's a really good suggestion, and I don't think our Tumalo representative actually has access to any of those staff materials, since we're just like citizens working at our jobs. But I think if I could ask if, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there a way that planning commissioners could gain access to that constant contact email list if they would like to reach out to members of the public about issues in Tumalo, or if is that allowed? Like, could she do that if?
That's a constant contact, but if it's something that the PC desires, we would definitely look into that. So I could see if there's a way to get you access or some other way to make it.
and I guess my point is, we're talking about a 20-year plan. That's pretty darn important to everybody in Tumalo,
Yeah.
as you can imagine. So our assumption was having a representative on the planning commission that we would be tied to the hip, understanding exactly what's going on. Again, the sewer, which is always put off to the side. And everyone says sewer is a different issue, but sewer is the foundation for growth. And Peter and I had this discussion, and I finally convinced him that if you cannot build an apartment complex in downtown Tumalo if you don't have the sewer. So sewer equals growth. So you can't separate them, even though it was a study.
So
The other concern.
rather than getting into the issues of the plan, which I'd like to capture as part of the public hearing, I think we just want to make sure that we're communicating with you guys in a way that is going to feel like you are tied to the hip and you are dialed in, you do know what's going on, and you're not having this feeling that like
Right.
things are going on and you're not hearing about them. So
Because our minds go a different direction when we don't know.
I hear you. Yeah, when you don't know, you just fill in the blanks with all kinds of stuff. So
Thank
But-
you.
let me just summarize real quick what I've heard. And if somebody can write this down while I'm summarizing, basically, like, we need to make sure the location is really clear to everybody. We need to send it out as soon as possible so that there's more warning than 1 week. And then we're also trying to figure out how can we get our new commissioner, Kelly, dialed into the community and make sure that you guys can connect in whatever way is going to be most, beneficial and also constructive. And that's probably something, would you like to comment on that at all, or?
Yeah, sure. And, I'm new to this role. I'm still determining, exactly what the position of a county commission, the planning commissioner, is. And, I believe that my role is to receive comments here and or written. I read every single comment that is projected, and that is, good way of receiving information. It's how the system's been designed, and for many years, and it seems to have worked. And so I have been going down that, course of communication, but I'm also, you're really interested to hear what folks have to say. I don't think it's my job or my role. I've read all of my roles. I don't think it's my role to have to send direct emails to citizens of Tumalo. I think if you have, direct communication that you would like, you can send it through public, hearing testimony, and then I'm definitely reading it. I just didn't understand that was my role to reach out directly to
That's not typically a planning commissioner role, although we often, so Commissioner Cyrus is bringing up a good point. Like we can actually get in trouble if we try to organize our community. Hold on a second, Commissioner Williams. If we try to organize our community in a particular way to achieve a particular agenda, but what we can do that I think you're suggesting is if you guys want to at any time tell us anything at all, whether it's Commissioner Kelly that you're most interested in contacting or just all of us, we actually have our own email address, like this group here, which is the Planning Commission. It just is planningcommission@deschutes.org. Just like PLANNINGCOMM.
ISSION.
So yeah, so you can actually email us and that way we all get the email and that can really help a particular commissioner. Like, you know, for instance, if somebody has something they really want Commissioner Cyrus to know, he might, if they only tell him, then he comes to the meeting and it sounds like it's just coming from him. But if they email all of us, then we're like, oh yeah, we read that email too, Matt. Yeah, that's right. Those people really want this thing. So in some ways, I think it actually might be better for everyone if rather than just Commissioner Kelly emailing with you, if we could all just email us. And then that way you're telling us directly. It's not having to go through.
Suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. And Will, did you have something you wanted? Oh,
I was going to send in the same direction, planningcommission@deschutes.org. You know, and I think it has a double effect. First, you know, it comes to you for your attention, and also then it becomes part of the record so that other people who are participating can see how people are interested and what issues are relevant to them. So that's the best way to do that.
Okay. Thank you. And then Commissioner Williams, sorry about the delay.
So the app Nextdoor. We've all got it as a community and I get Deschutes County Sheriff, fire alerts, this and that. And I know we have literally been struggling with this communication problem for like the last 2 months. Maybe if, you know, maybe if we start putting it out on Nextdoor, when our next meeting is, when our next this is, because I know in my neck of the woods, I'm South County and I actually cover half of the square mileage of what we have. These people pay attention. They look to it. And, you know, everyone receives their information differently. We all have a different way of engaging with our community. I don't do Facebook, but Nextdoor blows up my email. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take. Thanks, Commissioner Williams.
So a couple neighbors and we created this 501c3 called Tumalo Community Foundation. It's actually in the process. It's kind of a grueling process to get a 501c3, but it's in the works. It's going to be finalized here soon. So the main goal for this Tumalo Community Foundation group is really about community. It's not just about the roundabout, which I had asked for funds for earlier. So we've been trying to gather, you know, contact information to get more community involvement and similar to what they're asking, you know, because that's how we felt too. We just didn't feel like it's a unique place, right? It's not a city. It's not your responsibility to get the information out, but we do need this information. And Nextdoor is a great idea, but a lot of people aren't on Nextdoor. I don't like to. It's really depressing, honestly. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know. It would be easier just to have direct contact. So I'm asking if we can get the constant contact list to do these blasts out from the Tumalo Community Foundation. Is there a way to get that contact list?
So Will raised his hand, so we'll go to Will.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I figured that. I thought I'd ask.
It turns out that if you take emails from somebody and say, hey, we're taking this for a purpose, and then we give it to somebody else for some other purpose, legal counsel does not like that.
Okay.
We've actually wanted to do this for a note. It's like, hey, it'd be super great to talk to these people about this thing. And we've got a very strong no.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, but what you could do is you could write to the contact list as a member of that organization, and then the organization would receive the email. I think you're also, this would be an opportunity if you wanted to give your contact information, both here and at the hearing, to let people in the community know where you are.
Yeah.
And ask them to contact you to be part of that. I think you've got a little bit of an audience today and maybe a bigger one next time.
That'd be great. So I
Yeah.
created, it's Tumalo Foundation, Tumalo Foundation at gmail.com is the email. And my name's Lauren Kramer, and you can email me at the Tumalo Foundation at gmail.com. So yeah, and I'll continue to gather contact information. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Cyrus.
Yeah, I just wanted to expound just a little bit more on the communication. I mean, every commissioner does things a little differently. I have taken a little more active role in trying to represent the sisters community in that I have actually posted some of the upcoming events on some of the social media pages in some of the local community sites in order to try to encourage public participation. But I have to be a little bit careful because I can respond to people and attend meetings if requested. But according to legal counsel, I can't call meetings and actually instigate activities. So I can notify of upcoming things but I can't necessarily lead the discussion. And so we have to be a little bit careful on what we do. Right now with the trails, for example, I am getting copied on lots of emails from citizens on what's being sent to the county, just as kind of a also heads up, but which I welcome. And I have told those folks that if they have questions, I'd be happy to come and talk to their specific groups about what I know, and take their input, which doesn't do any good from a hearing standpoint, because quite frankly, they need to come and present it at the hearing in order to be on the public record. But so everybody does things a little different. I mean, I've, like I say, taken just a little more proactive role and take seriously the fact that I am representing the folks in the sisters community. So, I mean, I'm not aware of that necessarily being done in the past, but everybody does things a little different.
Thank you. Will?
I thought it might be helpful. Nicole, who should be enjoying her evening rather than watching the hearing, let us know that we will, as part of the hearing outreach to get new information about the continued hearing date, we'll work through our county information officer to propagate that. Nextdoor is part of that propagation, and we are connected with that. And there are 1,600 members of the Tumalo community that would, potentially receive that through that channel. So that's a way that we can reach people, and we'll include that as part of our renewed notice of this hearing.
I really appreciate that, because I think it makes it a little bit cleaner than I think, we all have the right to post on Nextdoor if we so choose, but it does get a little tempting to, if I post, hey, we're having this meeting at this time about this issue, and then people comment, then I'm going to be tempted to express my views there. And then maybe it looks like I'm rallying like my people that agree with me, and then discouraging people that don't agree with me or something. And that's where we're no longer being fair. Like, we're no longer serving our function of like trying to draw people in and hear people impartially. And that's what we're supposed to be doing up here, is being impartial until we get to our deliberations phase. So I think would be really helpful if for all public hearings, there's, we post that on Nextdoor. I mean, not we, but staff, public information's person. Yeah. You. Commissioner Kelly, would you like to say anything else about this before we end with this discussion? Just giving you an opportunity. You don't have to. Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, what I'm really grateful for is, I don't think I've thanked you guys yet for all the work. I've really enjoyed reading the spreadsheets. I've read them probably 8 times, looking at the nuances of the word changes. And I just really appreciate all the work that you guys put into this, because I know that you did do a lot of research, reach out, and it sounds like they were well attended, and I attended one of them. And so I just really appreciate that.
And Lauren Kramer.
Yeah. So I just have a correction. I just created this email. So it's not Tumalo Foundation. It's tumalocommunity@gmail.com in case anybody wants to be a part of that. So tumalocommunity@gmail.com.
Thank you for the correction. tumalocommunity@gmail.com. So that's important, because you could see how, like, if somebody doesn't miss the correct or doesn't get the correction, then they're emailing you and it's bouncing back. So we got it now. tumalocommunity@gmail.com. Okay. Great. Okay. So, hey, I know this was like, this has been difficult, but this has been a really constructive conversation about communication, and I really appreciate the feedback. I think we can work harder, we can get this together, and we can have a totally different experience in 2 weeks, but that would not have been possible if you didn't speak up and let us know what was going on. So thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next item here, which is going to be Planning Commission and staff comments. So Peter, unless either of you guys have anything before you leave the table. Okay, Peter.
Yeah, I have 2 things. Thank you, Madam Chair. You may have seen in the various news outlets, there is a petition for incorporation for the city of Mountain View. The Board of County Commissioners yesterday scheduled the public hearing for September 20th at 9 a.m. here in the Barnes and Sawyer room. And that matter is being processed. Commissioner Kelly wasn't here, so just for some context, it's pretty unprecedented to receive a petition for incorporation in the state of Oregon. There's been 3 in the last 41 years. One, Damascus, which is in the metro boundary, was incorporated in 2004, but disincorporated. The Oregon Supreme Court finalized that disincorporation in 2020. It's an unprecedented application, 265 square miles, 169,000 acres, kind of swells beyond Milliken, kind of on both directions. And in any event, petition for incorporation based on some case law is processed like a quasi-judicial land use application. So there's several criteria that have to be met. Well, we can summarize that when we get a little bit closer to the hearing date and keep you abreast of that. But there's substantial evidence in the record that has to be submitted. The board they're acting as a decision maker, not necessarily in a legislative role. And basically on the 20th, that will be the public hearing. Because of the quasi-judicial procedures that we follow, there will be a staff report that is available a week prior, and that's consistent with our procedural code. So right now we're still evaluating the proposal. There's a notice of application or notice of petition that's going out to everyone in that boundary, including service providers and agencies, to get their feedback. And in short order, there'll be the notice of public hearing for everyone who lives in that area or owns property in that area, and similarly to agency and service providers. So just kind of a procedural overview, that's kind of where we are. And like I said, when we get closer to the hearing date and once the staff report is finalized, we'll certainly give you a detailed analysis of what our assessment was of the petition, how it aligns with state law. So more to come on that point. So that's the petition for Mountain View. And I just wanted to let you know about the retreat that we're going to have, the Planning Commission retreat. That is scheduled for, and more information will be coming out, but this is a teaser. It's scheduled for September 14th, around starting at 2:00, probably going to around 7:30. We'll meet here at the Community Development Department. There's 3 tour stops. in 3 different locations. The first is near Redmond. Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council has an application before us that would amend Redmond's urban growth boundary to bring in approximately 300 acres of land for a regional emergency training center. And that's to serve the regional, fire and life safety, the municipal agencies or departments, districts. And it's also structured in a way, to the extent that we had a Cascadia event, Core 3, I think their vision is to have that kind of resiliency, to have that kind of presence and expertise that's available. So that's Core 3. We'll be meeting with COIC staff for about a half an hour. And then we drive to Southeast Bend, just off the Stevens Road track. That's approximately 150 to 200 acres of land that's being proposed right now through an urban growth boundary with us for the city of Bend to meet some of their employment and housing needs. And this came through special legislation, which I haven't memorized, but it will be duly noted in your packet, that allows the city of Bend to expedite an urban growth boundary amendment for just such a property. It was singled out so long as it meets a variety of needs for the community. And some of that is affordable housing and the missing middle housing. The Department of State Lands owns that property, and so they're working in concert with the city of Bend. I should have mentioned earlier that the Core 3, the regional emergency training property, Deschutes County is the property owner, and they're essentially donating that land to an entity to be determined who will manage and operate the regional training center. So that's number 2. So about a half an hour, we'll interface with City of Bend staff. And then the third stop is at the Bend Airport. The Bend Airport has a text amendment for a air traffic control tower. Believe it or not, they do not have one. And we have an opportunity to tour the airport for about an hour to learn about their plans for the municipal airport. That airport is located in our jurisdiction, and they currently have a text amendment that would, if approved, would allow for the construction of an airport tower. At the conclusion of those 3, our third and last field trip, we will have a retreat upstairs in one of their facilities. We'll have it catered, and it'll be an opportunity for the Planning Commission, especially 2 of our newest members, to just interface with staff to talk about the forthcoming joint work session with the Board of County Commissioners, which would be the following meeting that the Planning Commission has, talk about our work plan. We've got the comprehensive plan update coming, and just kind of learning from one another, getting a sense of we're meeting our expectations, and just kind of an opportunity to kind of check in a little bit more informal way than being at the dais and us at the table. So that's the plan. And we haven't had a retreat or a field trip since before the pandemic. So this seemed relevant in that these were 3 kind of regional projects that are actively engaged with Deschutes County on matters that will go to hearings officers and the Board of County Commissioners. So the Planning Commission has no formal role, but nonetheless, I thought it was, these were 3 projects that would be thought-provoking and interesting, that really invest in the region in ways that we haven't seen in a little while. So that's the summary of the field trip, and concludes my staff comments. So thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Will, do you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I wanted to let the Planning Commission know that there's been an update with the wildfire hazard maps, specifically that the Oregon Department of Forestry, in association with the Association of Oregon Counties, will be having some public meetings to roll out kind of a preview of those maps to county commissioners and staff. Now, those will be happening at the regional AOC meetings. Our relevant one is at September 21st in Klamath Falls. Anticipation is that we will be receiving those maps, a draft of those maps in advance of that meeting for comment. And there'll be an opportunity for staff and commissioners to get some initial discussion and feedback with Department of Forestry at that meeting. This is happening in advance of public hearings and opportunities for Oregonians generally to comment on the map. So an initial coordination with government to respond to county questions or comments at that meeting. Accordingly, CDD staff will be briefing the board and soliciting board direction on this issue on August 21st ahead of the September 21st meeting. We're cooperating with this with the county forester, of course, in these discussions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Williams, do you have any comments?
I do. I like to see when the public comes out and comments. I hope that we can create better methods of communication for them to comment. And Commissioner Kelly, glad to have you on board. I know we had Patrick out today, so thank you for helping us make a quorum. And I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but the windows I washed just took too long today.
We're glad you're here today too. It was quite a relief to see you on there. Thanks for making it work. Commissioner Kelly?
No, I'm really grateful that the few folks that did get the notice came out today. And I'm really excited that we get to extend this conversation and hopefully have more input, because I think there's just a very passionate discussion to be had regarding the growth of Tumalo and the future of Tumalo. And so I'm excited for the next meeting.
Cool. Commissioner Cyrus?
I'd start with a question. And maybe Will or Peter or whoever can answer it. I actually received a text from one of the citizens. Question is citizen input at Deschutes.org. Where does that go?
My understanding, citizen input, that is a general email address that is managed by administration. So they will often, if it relates to CDD, forward that to me, and then it circulates to the appropriate party. So I think it is designed for a general kind of conduit for those that have questions about the organization, and then there is someone in administration that realizes, oh, that's a law enforcement goes to sheriff, or oh, interesting that something about maybe the homelessness. Okay, that can go to administration, or when we had a regional houselessness coordinator. So it's a starting point. And just to build off that, Commissioner Cyrus, there are other emails that if one knows the theme a little better, like the planning commission at Deschutes.org, then that can get more customized. But it's just a springboard to get you into the system, and then it is routed to the appropriate party.
So in theory, it may not get where it needs to go.
It does get where it needs to go. It just means that if someone's like, I've got a citizen involvement and it's land use, they hit it, the person that initially receives it might be a deputy county administrator, who then goes, you know what? I think this is related to CDD. I'm going to forward it to Will Groves or Peter Gutowski. And so ultimately, I do believe those correspondences or inquiries are handled. It just may take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 emails or phone calls to get it to the right party.
Okay. I just, like I say, a question came up because back to our discussion on citizen input, which I thought was great, and hopefully we can help improve it. That was their question is, well, when we send stuff to this site, who gets it? And I didn't have a clue. So my comment was, I thought we had a really good, the hearings went well, but I thought we had an even better discussion about how we can potentially improve citizen input and communications, and I appreciate everybody's work. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a really good comment as well. Yeah, I agree. Ultimately we would have succeeded in our attendance goals on the first shot, but if we're not going to get it on the first shot, at least maybe we can get it next time. And we have had kind of a series of comments just in general over the past few months about citizen input. And so it is something that people really, I guess I'm happy to hear people care about it. I mean, I guess it should be obvious people care about citizen input, but this is I think Central Oregon is a place where people actually really care about where they live a lot. And I don't know, I think that's really a good situation to be in, especially as, people representing citizen input, but just in general as a community, if at least if there's motivation, then all we have to do is figure out how to present information in a way that really captures people's attention, in terms of, the timing of the emails and the exactly where the information's presented or how it's presented. And we'll figure it out. We just need to keep working on it. So thanks everybody for participating in that. I don't have any other comments other than I'm really glad you're here. I really appreciate how you contributed to the meeting, and yeah, welcome.
Thanks.
I mean, I know you were here before, but I wasn't here, so. Okay, great. Anything else, Commissioner Williams, or is that just a happy applause? Okay, great. So it's now 7:43 on Thursday, August 10th. So I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.